Whereas the energies that I want to talk about here, these format energies, it's a different type of this feeling of depression. It's not technically an emotional energy. It's not coming out of the emotional center.
Mhm.
But because we are complex human beings, we are feeling and experiencing these themes through the lens of our emotions, I should say. We're experiencing them through our
Mhm.
emotions and how we move. And energy is meant to, be flowing. Human design reveals who you are energetically and who you came here to be. I'm Dana, human design specialist.
And I'm Haley, the human design newbie. Listen in as we explore how leaning into your authentic self is your ultimate path to success. Welcome to the Human Design High podcast. Let's get into it.
Hello and good morning, Haley.
Hello.
How are you today?
Good.
Good. It's good to see you again. Always a treat when I get to see you. For me, hopefully for
Yes, me
you.
too.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Oh, okay. So we are we are maybe going to jump into it today. I know you're kind of on a tighter schedule today you're sharing with me your blocked out day of activities.
Yes, my
Uh,
husband loves a good time block.
Time
I'm not
block.
always for
I
it,
really
but
I know, because you like to be present and in the now, as we discussed the last time.
it's less of that and more of just I don't like the rigidity of it. I mean, it's good
Mm.
getting things done, but sometimes I'm like, I want to fight the rigidity.
That's the influence of your parents, I believe. That's a little conditioning, I believe, with your parents with their, you know, more relaxed approach to life. Our open will centers are like, and our open root centers are like, we'll get to it. Okay. All right. So speaking of root centers, I hope I
Oh,
didn't just blast everybody's eardrums out. I got excited by a segue there for a second. Root center. So I wanted to talk about a root center-ish type of theme today.
all right.
Something we haven't tackled. Um, and it's about what they call format energies in the chart. Format energies. Um,
Mhm.
and really the influence they have on the chart as a whole, or as someone who has any of these gates defined, these gates can carry on a shadow side of it themes of depression.
Mm.
And first and foremost, I want to say I feel like I have to plainly and clearly say I am not a medical professional. I am not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I am none of the things. I am a person who has an opinion and has a certain perspective that comes through the energetic lens of human design
Mhm.
and other things. But um, if we're going to talk about form of depression, we're talking about because I really hate that everything has become so polarizing and weaponizing
Mhm.
and everything else in our culture that I feel
Mhm.
like I can't speak about depression because I myself am not personally depressed. I have
Mhm.
depressive moods. Everybody does. I have a lot of melancholy in my chart, which is a little different. It's kind of a depressive energy.
Mhm.
That's an emotional wave type energy for me. This is going to be something a little different in that, you know, it is a energetic blockage almost, or it's not a blockage, it's the way it doesn't, the energy isn't flowing correctly.
Mhm.
And I realize as I edit that I don't always finish my thoughts. So I want to finish this thought. Remember when I think it was the last episode I told you about how I'm always looking forward and my
Uh-huh.
brain
Mhm.
always wants to be so far ahead of me. I'm sorry. But what I want to say is depression, um, I know is a very complex and complicated topic and issue. For different people, it means different things.
Mhm.
And I understand that there are certainly people out there that deal with it much more severely than others. But I also firmly believe that too often in our culture, specifically in America, in the medical profession, there is this rush to just medicate if somebody is in a mood. Especially, we know this is a fact they tend to want to medicate women more than men. That, we are more sensitive, moody creatures potentially,
Mhm.
and we're more in touch with our emotions and or I more in touch. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but we do know that they tend to
More
just try
open
and
to
shut women up.
expressing. We're
Well, they
more
tend
open
to
to expressing them.
yeah, and they want to just shut women up with medication and not really deal with, the issue. They're like, "Oh, well, they're just hormonal or they're just this or they're just that."
Well,
And I've had
welcome to the American history.
yeah, and I've had that experience myself of, I've shared a little bit before of not depression, but anxiety for sure, and being, diagnosed with anxiety and being put on medication. And while at the time, because I was not aware of any of this stuff, I was only um
27,
no, you
28,
were older than that. I was maybe 30.
30.
It was in my early 30s. Um and just very exhausted and very worried. There was a lot of stuff going on. I'm a mom.
You had two babies.
Yeah, and I've got a really defined spleen. So there was a lot of fears that were like, yes, yes, everything can happen. Um but I think that a lot of times with depression or with themes of depression, we tend to um really turn that inward on ourselves, and we try, people feel bad about not feeling great all the time, which I
Mhm,
think is in itself is really sad because we're not meant to feel great all the time. We talk about emotional energy here
mhm,
all the time, and some of us have it consistently and some of us don't. And what we're learning is that, this is something that moves and flows, and we're not always going to be
mhm.
exactly the same every day.
Yeah.
And whereas the energies that I want to talk about here, these format energies, it's a different type of this feeling of depression. It's not technically an emotional energy. It's not coming out of the emotional center,
Mhm,
but because we are complex human beings, we are feeling and experiencing these themes through the lens of our emotions, I should say. We're experiencing them through our
mhm,
emotions and how we move. And energy is meant to, be flowing. If you look at the human design chart, it's full of all these channels, right?
mhm,
And we talk about motors in the chart, and it's designed to flow. And if these energies that come out of the root center, and what we're going to talk about today is these three channels, specifically the ones that go between the root and the sacral.
mhm.
And those are called format energies. And if we're looking at the chart, there's just the three, and they help determine which circuitry really a lot of this
Right.
energy is going to move through to the
Mhm,
sacral. And so um, it will dictate whether the person who has these energies consistently, um, and then also transits can, help activate
mhm,
these channels, as we know. Uh, if this energy is going to be more logical and focused, because there's the logic circuit,
mhm,
more cyclical and developmental, which is the other side, the sensing circuit, the collective, or not the collective, the understanding circuit.
mhm,
Nope, nope, nope. That's the sensing. I had it right the first time. And then right up the middle, more mutative, unpredictable
mhm.
energy. And so what is it we know about the root center as a motor? How does it operate?
So, as a motor, it's more of a pulsing energy. It's not There's
Mhm,
not always energy there, and it is
mhm.
also a pressure point, so you have that added little thing
Feeling of
to
pressure.
yeah.
Yes, which we're gonna definitely talk about because that's where this depression comes, is this, it's a pressure center as
I
well.
had the thought earlier when you said it's not from the
Mhm.
emotional center, so I was like, "Well, it's more based on pressure."
You are so astute. Yes, and so the what we're going to look at not real quick. We're going to try. We're going to try. Is that yes, there is going to be that depression, this just depressed feeling there when this energy is not flowing or moving correctly. And that usually happens when there is a hanging gate. So say you have, just one side of a channel,
Mhm,
because we always know that when you have one side of the channel, it's always reaching for, looking for the other side, right? To complete that circuit. And so there's going to be people that have these channels completely. There's going to be instances where maybe you have the hanging gates and you come around other people and that pressure gets relieved because the energy can flow. There
Mhm.
can be, as we talked about, different planetary transits
Oh,
that
yes.
could activate these channels. As we speak right now, we actually have um I believe yes, because I don't have any gates in the root center defined. And I know that right now the channel of the 6030 is highlighted by Pluto, and I can't remember where the 3 is. Anyways, doesn't matter. There is that channel right now, so there is that energy that
Yes.
can flow, that mutative energy.
I don't know where my chart is, and I
Mhm.
keep forgetting to get a new one, so I don't remember what gates I have in the root.
You do. Actually, I pulled this up because I knew you would ask.
You know me so well.
Well, and also, um, for the sake of your learning,
Mhm.
of course, I pulled up it because I was curious because I don't have everybody's chart memorized, not even my well, I kinda have my own. I know what gates I have, I don't always know what planets they are, which is crazy. I mean,
That's
there's
fair.
only so many, but you think you'd know all of them,
Mm,
and it's really interesting to look at. Okay, we'll pull up your Presley too because
thank you.
he is the one you live with now. Alright, so for Haley, you
Mm.
have in the root center, which you have
Yes.
defined, you
Mhm.
have gate 60, which is the mutative middle channel. You just have
Oh,
gate 60. It's a hanging gate reaching towards the undefined solar plexus.
yes.
And then you also have the gate 9 in the sacral center, which is in that logic circuitry reaching towards the root to the 52.
Wait, 60? You said 60 goes to the solar plexus?
Did I say that? Yeah,
Yes.
I'm so glad you're here to keep me on track.
You said
Sacral.
mutative and then solar plexus, and I was like, I don't think that's right.
As we move through today, anytime I'm talking, it is root to sacral, root to sacral, root to sacral, sacral to root. Got to remember that. Okay. All right.
So I have a
So
hanging gate on my sacral and my root
you do.
to the sacral. Okay.
You do.
So gate 60 on the root and 9 on the sacral? 8,
Yes. Yes,
9,
ma'am.
8, 9.
Yes, ma'am. 8, 9. No, 9. Where are you getting 8 from?
I don't, because I could have already said 8 or 9,
Okay.
obviously.
Let's just get into this. So
Okay.
okay.
Yes.
So gate or excuse me, the channel there 52 and 9. It is bridging that the centers of the sacral center and the root center. And when you're looking at the chart,
Mhm.
it's going to be there's like I said there's 3 channels there. It's going to be the one on the right.
Okay.
And it is sacral, I mean excuse me, it is logical circuitry.
Logical. Okay.
Okay. And so this is the channel of concentration. And it is really, if you have the complete channel, it is the energy of being able to be still, be focused, and really be concentrated on the task at hand that you are really engrossed in, right? It
Mhm.
gives you the energy to sit with the thing and figure it out, work
Mhm.
with it. It's a logical step by step process. There is also someone in your life who has this channel.
Ian, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's your brother. We can all think of Ian sitting at his desk working on his models that he likes to work on that makes me
Yeah.
crazy to look at as he all the teeny tiny hundreds of little plastic pieces that he
Oh my god. Yeah, I
has the
helped him.
ability to sit there
Yeah.
and just focus on it and he just does it and I it would make me nuts. It would literally make me nuts.
You
Can't.
would last maybe 5 minutes.
But to be fair, you like puzzles, you like sitting
Mhm.
there and working with puzzles. So you have that. So gate 9, so okay, so we did the overview of what that channel does. And you know, this this is a format channel. It is when it's pulsing on, it's giving that energy to that logical circuitry. So it's like giving the pulse of energy to be able to complete the task or start the task, get to the task, concentrate, work on it, right?
Mhm.
And it's I mean, if you think about it, when you're talking about wrestling with problems or projects or whatever, a lot of times it takes a lot of focus. And,
Mhm,
so the gate 52 is um, more of this broad overview. It's got the energy, it's got the stillness, it's ready, but on its own, it doesn't know where to focus. The energy, the sacral gives it the place to focus, right?
mhm,
So with gate 52 in the root center, there's no physical outlet there. If you just have the 52 on its own hanging, like you do not. But it is more of the pressure, feeling the need, the pressure to sit still and focus. There's a little bit of restlessness here,
mhm,
however, you don't know what to focus on. So it is this feeling of never knowing where to put your attention, not knowing how to focus, not knowing what to do. And that can create over time, if this is always a hanging gate and it only gets activated during transits or other people.
mhm,
And literally this people that carry this energy and they experience that feeling of feeling scattered or not knowing where to focus or whatever, but they feel that they need to.
mhm,
It can be relieved just by a transit. It can lift and then it might build back up again. This energy can build because it's pressure, right?
mhm,
But it's mechanics. It's just energy that is there to give you something when the time's right. Does that make
mhm.
sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So, gate 9, then being that gate of focus, you may have this more feeling because you feel bad about yourself, that carry a certain amount of depression or get, kind of annoyed, whatever you want to call it, because you can't sit still and focus. You have the ability and knowing that maybe you do want to focus. I almost say can't sit still, can't do both at the same time. Let's say it like that, because you have something that you want to focus on, but you literally your energy just doesn't allow you to just like sit down and get to it and focus on it
Mhm.
long enough. Maybe that's what I'm trying to say. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Mhm,
Yeah, you can't be there long enough to concentrate, and um it can feel like you have some people might see themselves of not being determined enough. They could beat up on themselves of like, well, I know I need to do this. This is where I need to put my attention, but I just can't seem to make myself sit there long enough to do it. Right. And so that starts, you're, does that sound familiar?
mhm. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it does.
Become a source of frustration for you? Well, stop
Yeah,
beating yourself up, Haley.
it's a lot of it's like more of like there's so many things to be done that I can't sit down and focus on one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and looking at your chart, that gate 9 is, yes, make sure I'm looking at the right chart. That is your unconscious moon energy, which is
Mhm,
what motivates you. You do want to focus, and you know that you have the power to focus when
mhm,
the time's right. And if can, but so maybe you just pay attention. And I know we just did that one about the transits and whatnot. You could find that there's certain times of the month where you can be more focused because there is always going to be that lunar moon transit.
mhm. I mean, I have already begun to kind of not so much track it, but just being more aware that there are some times where I can. It's
Hmm.
like I really get focused and get a lot of things done.
Hmm. Yeah, because you do have a defined route, so you do know that maybe you can have become more comfortable with knowing that there's going to be on off for energy, and kind of give yourself some grace there, not have to push through that. So yeah, so that's the with the gate 52, feeling the depressed feeling for not being able to sit still long enough and focus, and then or not knowing what to focus on, I'm sorry.
Mhm,
And then for the
right.
reverse is not taking the time to sit still. Okay, so we covered that one. We good.
Mhm. Yes, yes. Next.
Next. Okay, so we're going to switch over to the other side
I
to
knew it.
to the more abstract side, the sensing side, which is all about cycles. And this is
Mhm.
the channel is called the channel of maturation. It's because 53 is beginnings, 42 is endings. It's someone who um, understands and has the energy of knowing that life does move in circles. There are beginnings, there's endings. There's someone that knows, if they are more in tune with their own energy, that they know when is the right time to start, when is the right time to, when do we bring things to completion?
Mhm.
Because that is the name of the gate, I believe, is completion. Completion, yeah.
Does Presley have one of those? Both of those?
Yes, his sun energy is the gate 53, I believe. No, his earth energy is 53.
Which
His
is the
beginnings.
ending beginnings.
Yeah, so he has the 53 and he also has the 9 like you do.
Oh.
Uh and his 9 is
Ah,
in
we both focus. We both struggle with the inability to decide what to do. Decide where to
yeah, it
focus.
varies. You could focus, but you just gotta kind of have the energy at the right time to sit still long enough with one idea or one project or one thing, right?
Or one hobby.
Yeah, one hobby, you might have lots of things you want to focus on, but
Yeah.
especially more so for him as a line 3 as well. Okay, so the beginnings and the ending. So, as
Mm.
I said, this is someone who understands that life moves in cycles, and most important thing for this channel in general, someone who has the complete channel, is to understand that as you move through the experience, you know how it starts, but don't have expectations of how the cycle is going to go. It's not about expectations. It's about this channel or this circuitry is about learned experience, right?
Mhm.
So no expectations in these channels. Just let's see what happens. And you will instinctively know with the full channel when it is time to bring something to completion, to that cycle, to the end. I think it's very interesting that it says that people with this channel have a deep affinity for history and attuned to all cycles of life, physical, societal, and planetary.
Mm.
And it says, I'm reading directly from a book here.
Mhm.
When they enter into an experience through their own authority, they are equipped with the energy to begin something, find satisfaction in its development, bring it to a successful conclusion, and upon reflection, share the long term benefits with others for the greater good of humanity. Just going to lay it out there. This is the one channel that Marianne Williamson has in her chart. And I'm just going to say that she definitely knows about cycles. She's always teaching about it. She's always very
Mhm.
reflective. She's a writer. There's probably a lot of other people who do teach and contemplate, have some of this energy there, or really sensing circuitry in general, because it is very much this reflective energy. But
Mhm.
anyways, I thought that was interesting. So
That is.
with that, gate 53 being in the root center, the
Mhm.
pressure there, it is called the gate of development, its beginnings. And obviously there's the pressure there to start something. And so if you have gate 53, it's and I know people that have just this gate. Well, Presley has it too. He always feels that pressure to be starting
Mhm.
things. And I know I've talked
Mhm.
about this with him before. It's like you have a lot of starting energy, initiating energy in your chart. He's got 51, he's got 54, he's got a lot of these that are about starting because they are these root center gates as well.
Mhm.
And there is that pressure to start things, but never feeling like they ever complete anything. And it's very frustrating feeling of why do I start so many things, but I can't ever
Mhm.
seem to finish them, right? Plus
Mhm.
he's a line 3. And but I have a friend who has this who's not a, 1-3 and
Mhm.
not suffers, but experiences this a lot. And it's a theme we, talk about a lot is this and it can get her into a more of a funk and a depression of feeling like here I go again starting something else again
Mhm.
and I never finish it, and it's very, it is for her depressing over time because it feels makes you feel like a failure, right?
Mhm.
Because feel like other people can do it, why can't I do it, right?
Yeah.
And I always say, but you're not meant to. You're not designed
Mhm.
to. At least not everything. There may be some things you can bring to completion based on maybe people you work with, right? If they have the other end of that gate. or, a longer cycle of a planetary transit, like one of the bigger outer planets that take a long time. Maybe there'll be a cycle in their life where there is going to be the completing energy.
Mhm.
Conversely, on the other side, the gate 42, gate of increase, it is it is completion, right? Is
Mhm.
they say that somebody has this
Endings.
gate endings, yeah, they could actually walk into the middle of a situation and be able to bring it to completion, right?
Hmm.
However, the opposite pressure is they can kind of feel like if they have that gate 42 feeling that they feel kind of stuck a lot, that they'll never get
Mhm.
out of a situation, and they have a hard time getting things going on their own, right? And so that could also lead to, also like, I can never get anything going. You can see how with the 9, I don't know, I've got all these things but I can't get it going,
Mhm.
because there's not that pulse of energy from the other end there to help move that energy along. So there's that. I was gonna say something else, but I think that pretty much explains it.
Yeah, that was good.
And then thank you. Yeah,
You're
yeah,
welcome.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, so that brings us to the middle then, to the middle gate, which is the
Mhm.
individual circuitry. It's mutative. And so the full channel here is the
Mhm.
channel of mutation.
Mhm. Oh.
Yeah. And being an individual channel, there's going to be a certain amount of melancholy, they call it, but we're also talking about this depression energy. But on top of that, it can be even more moody. It's a individual channel, because mutative energy does carry a lot of that melancholy, in the sense that they say the purpose of that in the chart is it the individual kind of turns more inward into their own process, because the individual experiences things, circuitry, and there are those that are influenced by the individual. Doesn't mean the individual actually has to go out and teach anything, just their experience alone and being in their energy a lot of times, it has an effect on the rest of us. It's a mutative energy. You have to have that spark of mutation in the species in order for things
Mhm.
to change and grow, and the individual doesn't always know the impact of it, the experience of it, what it is, but it kind of shines out as an example, but also is felt by those around them. That gives
Mhm.
others permission to kind of follow along. And so the this energy very much can affect the people around them. And so really there is this, the on the one side is, in the root is gate 60, which is that gate of limitation, which we've
Mhm.
talked about before. It's that more of the idea that we talked about before, about that conservative energy, where there are limitations to
Oh, I
growth,
think I remember. Is
right?
this the
And
one
there
where
should
it's
be.
like, kind of knowing I may be confusing this with another gate, but knowing, like, what needs to stay the same so you don't just completely is that a different gate?
No, it's, yeah, we've talked about it in that way, of sense that I feel like that conservative energy of, yes, if you look at the state of things, what conservatism usually is trying to keep things the same, right?
Mhm.
Let's not move forward. Let's conserve our
Mhm.
energy. And there is value in that, when we have talked about this before, because you can't just willy-nilly let everything just change overnight. That brings
Be
chaos.
chaos.
Right. And that's what we don't want. We don't want chaos. We want progression. And so there has to be
Yeah.
this balance between the move forward, but also knowing what's worth bringing forth with, or bringing
Mhm.
forward with us, right?
Mhm.
Um, and so there's a certain amount of, yeah, there is that movement from chaos to order, which is kind of what nature experiences, right? And what we are
Mhm.
currently experiencing rather heartily, I believe, which makes sense. I told you that energy is present right now. That full channel is,
Yes. I
and
think I
it's,
remember talking about.
but okay, we're not going to get into that. Anyways, so the channel of mutation, the full channel, is this pressure to bring innovation and um, um, renewal it kind of bringing that through for themselves and through the world around them. Change. It's about change, right? The
Mhm.
individual level that radiates outward. And so there can be a lot of pressure there for when the energy is on and off. Because even if you have the channel defined, doesn't mean the energy is always there. It can be on, it can be
Mhm.
off, it can be on, it can be off. It's adrenalized energy. Remember, it's like it's there. So when it's not there, because there is this really deep drive to change, really moving forward, if the
Mhm.
pulse is off for those with someone the full channel, that's where that melancholy can come in because it's just like it feels kind of stuck.
Why am I not doing anything? Why isn't it changing?
Yeah,
Why?
and then something that we talk about and when we're talking about emotional energy in the solar plexus is that for the person particularly with this energy of waiting for that pulse, the melancholy sets in and then the mind wants to get involved like what you just said.
Mhm.
Why is this happening? What? And they are trying to give reason for why they're feeling that way. And if they can just hear this one thing of like, it will pass. Like,
Mhm.
yes, there could be things going on in your life, but the most important thing I think that human design is trying to teach us and other teachers outside of human design about emotional energy is understanding that you have a choice and you can either keep finding things, more things to feel bad about,
Mhm.
and it will feel much, much worse. Or you can just
Mhm.
stop thinking about it altogether and go find something else to think about or do,
Mhm.
just completely unrelated. That's the best advice I have
Yeah.
out there. Don't give in to the melancholy or to the depression. So
You can e
the
you can be there and experience it, but you move through it. You don't sit in it.
yes, and it won't last as long sometimes, especially when we're talking about emotional energy, the solar plexus. But
Mhm.
um, yeah, the key here for this channel is just to be ready and not to be stuck down in the ickiness of it. Also, since it is melancholy a lot of times in the chart, and we're getting a little off base here, but it's important to hear that with this configuration of there's a lot of creativity there, and it happens in these more depressive, melancholic states.
Mhm.
Music usually helps a lot to help move energy through, whether you play music, listen to music, move to music. It can. I mean, I'm the kind of person, I don't have this channel, but I have a lot of, circuitry that was
Melancholy.
individual. And it is, music does really help a lot. There's days I just gotta
Mhm.
like get in my car and drive and sing and like,
I
you
mean,
feel it.
a lot of times one song can, like, instantly change your mood.
Absolutely. So, as we said, so back to the pressure here in the gate 60, there's a restlessness there because, it wants to move, but it can feel stuck. It can feel limited. I can't get out of this situation. It feels like there's so many roadblocks there, right? And then, there will be times where they'll come into contact with a gate 3 somewhere, and that pressure is released.
Okay.
So in between times where there's not that connection there, it can feel a lot of pressure, can feel heavy, can feel stuck, but just understanding that again, there's going to be certain days of the month you'll feel better, year, people you're with is going to help get that energy
Mhm.
moving. Okay. And then on the other side, if you have the gate 3, um, they call gate 3 difficulty at the beginning because it is kind of chaos. It's the gate of ordering. It is gate 3 is interesting gate. And its function is to really take all this confusion, this chaos,
Mhm.
this what are we going to do with this energy and direct it because the sacral's giving directional energy to things a lot of times. It's giving it a way to use that energy, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Um,
It's like the magnifying glass. I don't know why.
yeah, yeah. And so it says, it's establishing order, kind of taking trying to take the confusion away so that something new can come through and take hold in the world. That's gate 3. Again, it's waiting for that pulse of energy, waiting for that mutative energy to come through so it can, obviously bring that sense of restlessness through as well. And the gate 3 could, without the gate 60, most of the time, have a lot more confusion to it. Kind of this,
Mm.
where is this going? Why don't I have an answer to this confusion? I feel like I just don't have the energy to create change. You're just kind of really having to wrestle with patience because there's a lot of this wanting to change and create change, but you just don't have that pulse of energy on there to do it. And so there's a lot of frustration that can build up there in the gate 3 as well. Because you just feel like there's no energy
Interesting.
there. You want to
Yeah.
change, but you just don't have the energy to do it. And you just can't seem to get it going. And so we do know your Aunt Nancy.
Yes.
Sorry, Nancy, we're
Yes.
outing you. I don't think she listens to
Mm.
us. She has the full channel. And so
Oh.
I like to think about, and it's been something I've been like, I'm trying to figure it out and how she experiences it, or how she
Mhm.
displays it really to the rest of us. And I think it comes in the way they have a knack and a tendency for just uprooting their lives and moving somewhere else. She changes a lot. Y'all might see her as this
Mhm.
kind of not changing person, but she's actually changed a lot more things later in her life than I have. Um, and she always just, when she waits for the right time, when she feels
It
that
always
pulse
works
on,
out.
it works out beautifully for her. And
Mhm.
then she can change her mind and something else can happen and she'll move to the next thing. But things do kind of line up. And she's a manifesting generator too, which always surprises me.
Mm.
Um, she's
Yeah.
like a she's like a hidden MG. But I have noticed when I've been in her presence, she can just tend to get up and move around sometimes. And I'm like, where'd she go?
You're like, "Wait, what?"
Me, I feel like I'm running billboards all the time to everybody. Hey, I'm going to go do this now. I'm doing that. I don't need to inform anybody, but I'm making sure everybody's comfortable, knows what's going on. Sorry, off topic. So, anyway, so the point here really to talk about these energies and just kind of run through this in sort of a quick, loose way is that um, back to the beginning of the conversation of about depression in general, mood in general, how we're feeling in
Mhm.
life. As I said, take a look at your chart, see if any of these energies are present. Even transiting energies can cause some of this more depressive feeling in your life of either being stuck or not getting things going or not knowing how to focus or not being able to sit still or not, just really look at those themes there and see if maybe ask yourself some questions if this is what is contributing, perhaps, not perhaps the full scope of what's happening in your life, but
Mhm.
understanding that there's going to be just this energetic component to everything we do, but that it really just gives you that permission to say, I'm okay. There's nothing technically wrong, air quotes,
Mhm.
wrong with me, which we're so conditioned to do is to see where it is that we're wrong and what we're doing wrong and
Mhm.
what, you know, which is such a waste of energy. I mean, it is
Yeah.
good to look at your motivations, your experiences, your beliefs, that is good to ponder that. But if it's something that's, you know, really bogging you down, feeling like there's something wrong with you and that you need to correct something, I suggest not trying to correct anything. I suggest leaning into where you feel you're doing it right in life and focus more on that.
Mhm.
Because, I mean, what do you always, or people always say, oh, my own worst critic or, your own worst enemy. It's so
Mhm.
true. You can totally do that. And I
Yeah.
just wanted to let people know that there may be something else at play here and just relax into it and know that it will pass. It will release eventually. It may build up
Mhm.
again, But I mean, I find that's what's so helpful about all of this is that getting an understanding of really the cycles of things, but of understanding that this is just life. This is, things are going to happen, but the nature we've talked about before, nature of the universe is things are always changing,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if you don't like it, just wait a little bit and see what happens. It's
Yeah.
going to change one way or
Mm-hmm.
another. Something's going to change. And are you going to, cling on to your old stories of, not doing it right? Or are you just willing to experiment a little? So, anyways, that's why I want to talk about that today. I hope that wraps that up.
Yeah, no, that was good.
Any other questions you have about that, Haley?
No.
No.
No. Mm-mm.
Okay, cool. All right. Well then. We will just leave it there. If you have any questions about any of that, you can always reach out to me.
Mhm.
Email, Instagram, and I'm there for you. So I'll leave it there. And I hope everybody out there, we really appreciate you listening. So I hope you have a great
Mhm.
day.
Mhm.
And you too, Haley, have a great day.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah. Okay. Thought you were going to say bye.
Well, I wanted to respond back to you, and then you say bye, and then I say bye.
Oh, okay. So I'll say bye, Haley.
Bye.
Well, you made it all the way to the end of today's episode, so you must have liked what you heard. If you did, make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode, and perhaps leave us a good review. And if you know someone who wants to dig into all things human design with us, make sure you share the Human Design Hive podcast with them. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks for listening.